Everyone, what's today, y'all? Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. If you are watching the replay, go ahead and put hashtag replay. I love to know when y'all are watching it, because I know y'all be watching this late at night when you're probably supposed to do other things, so to get yourself motivated. And I am happy to be here. Hi, Chris. So today I am going to be talking about having boundaries with your chair. As I am talking, if you have questions, let me know. You can put your questions in the Q&A box. You can put it in the comments, or you can request to come on live, because I love doing some live coaching. But here's the first thing I want to say. The too long don't read of it all is boundaries are for you and not for other people. Let me repeat that again. Boundaries are for you, not other people. When we say I have boundaries, or I just started talking, Julian. When we say we have boundaries, what we're saying is here are my rules for how I govern myself. The other person doesn't have to agree. They don't even have to understand. When you say I have a boundary, it is for you. So when you're thinking about this in the context of working with your dissertation chair, what are the rules that you're going to govern yourself by, regardless of what your chair does or doesn't do? This is going to be a little challenging for some of y'all, because some of y'all are stuck in entitlement. And I'm going to say this from all the love in the world. A lot of you are entitled because you think that your chair is supposed to do X, Y, Z, that it's supposed to be a certain way. And let me just name right now, that I'm sure that when people were trying to recruit you into the program, they made all of these claims about all this support that you're going to have and all the resources that are going to be available to you. And then you get to the dissertation process, or as you get closer, you're like, where's that support y'all promised me? I want to name that. I want to say that is a reality. And I also want to name that, as unfair and ridiculous as that might be, it doesn't change, though, that you are in a program, that you have the goal of finishing your degree so that you can be doctored. And the real talk of it all is, all those faculty, they got their degrees. Their paperwork is signed. You are the one who wants a degree. So that does mean that it puts more onus on you to show up and get what it is that you need. I find that to be very empowering personally, because it's like, all right, I'm showing up and I'm going to ask. And you can feel however you feel about it, but I'm showing up and I'm going to ask. I'm going to get what I came for. What Denzel say? I'm leaving here with something. I'm going to leave here with something. Y'all going to give me my degree, or you going to give me my degree? And I just need y'all to have that attitude as we continue on this conversation. Because a lot of what I'm going to tell you to do and ask you to do is going to require you to have that attitude of, I'm leaving here with something. Y'all are giving me my degree, and I don't care. I don't care what you got to do. What have you giving it to me? Okay. So that's what I want to say. Boundaries, though, it is important for us to communicate our boundaries so that other people understand how we operate. We cannot make an assumption that everyone operates the same way, because if that was the case, y'all, we wouldn't even have 99% of the problems we have as a society. Right. And so it is you hear people say you have to teach people how to treat you. That's what a boundary is. You are teaching other people how to treat you, how to interact with you. So when you go into conversation or a relationship with your chair, keep these things in mind. Boundaries are about how you are going to show up. That means you're going to have to show up, friend. If you say these are your boundaries, you have to follow them. No one else has to. You have to be the one to follow them, because the best way to teach somebody something is how you enact those things, how you consistently follow your own rules that you have for yourself. That means that you're going to have to do some inner parenting, for some inner child work, and you're going to have to say, look, homie, like, I got to run the show. This is what we're going to do. Now, I'm not going to go too deep in that. Maybe that could be tomorrow's conversation about inner child in a dissertation. But right now, I just need you to know that you're going to have to show up in the parent role. Now, get you something to write with. You might have to come back to this live, because I'm going to give you a checklist. And what I want you to do is I want you to track how many of the following statements that I'm going to say, how many of these can you say yes to? How many of these can you say that you do? So if you need to go get some paper and some water, this is your opportunity to go do so. If you need to pull up your notes app, which I think it might be hard to watch Instagram in your notes, but maybe you got a way of doing that. I'm going to read a series of statements and I want you to track how many can you say yes to, right? So number 1, I meet with my advisor, chair, supervisor, whatever the language is. I meet with that person at least once a month. At least once a month, I'm meeting with that person, whether that's on Zoom, in person, Skype, I don't know, pick it. Maybe y'all meet up for coffee, but you meet with the person who is guiding you through this process at least once a month. That's number 1. I'm looking at my notes. Number 2, I come prepared to that call or that conversation with an agenda that outlines the points I want to cover and the questions that I have. So number 2 is when you meet with them, do you come prepared with an agenda? And an agenda don't have to be fancy, friend. It could be a Post-it, but at least you know exactly what you want to cover and what questions you have for them. So that's number 2. Number 3, I either record the meeting or I take detailed notes that I can refer back to later. And for those of you who are taking notes, I mean, you actually have notes that make sense when you look at them later. Not just the act of taking the notes, but do those notes make sense to you? Like, do you know exactly what to do when you read those notes later on after the excitement from the meeting has worn off? So that's number 3. Number 4, I end the conversation with a summary of tasks that need to be completed both by me and by them. So do you end this conversation by saying, let me just recap for you. I'm going to have my literature review for you in 2 weeks, and you're going to give me a sample dissertation next week. Check. Great. We're all on the same page. Do you do that? That's number 4. Number 5, I know what dates my advisor, my chair, supervisor, etc. will be unavailable or off contract. Your faculty member most likely is not working 12 months a year. Some have sabbaticals. Some choose not to work on the summer. Like my chair, she be like, I'm not doing nobody's classes. I got mountains to go climb. She climbs the mountains all summer. She lives in Utah. She loves it. So I knew she was not going to be on contract in the summer, because when your faculty are not on contract, they are not obligated to respond to you, because I'm only getting paid for when I'm on contract. If I'm not getting paid for it, I don't have to respond to your emails. I don't have to help you with anything. I don't have to look over no paperwork. I'm not getting paid. Now, people have different boundaries with themselves. Some faculty will still communicate with you when they're not on contract, but you at least want to know, are there any off-contract days? Do you plan on going on vacation? Do you have a sabbatical coming up? Do you have any medical procedures that's going to take you out the office? Like, are there days that I should know and I should plan for that you are unavailable? This is important because if for a lot of you, you're planning for your defense dates to come up. If you know that, like I think about a client, her chair was going on sabbatical at end of May. So she knew she had until the middle of May to defend her dissertation, or she would have to wait a whole year. That's important for you to know so you can make plans. So do you know those dates? So that's number 5. Number 6, I know the best ways to communicate with my advisor and which forms of communication work best for them. So is your advisor an email person? Are they a phone person, like a call or a text person? Are they best in person, like for you to meet with them in person, like to roll up with them on them in their office hours? Do you know the best ways to communicate with them? Now, some people may have different communication preferences based on what the thing is, what the task is. So if it's a long, so my chair, for example, if it was a short question, like I had like, oh, you said that this was due, or you wanted me to email you this thing. What was that thing again? I could text her. She gave me her cell phone. And as long as it was before 9 p.m., I could text her. Now, if it's something where I'm like, oh, I'm having a hard time figuring out this session, I just need to brainstorm, then she would say, schedule a meeting with me. Right? She had different expectations. Do you know those expectations for your advisor or your chair or your supervisor? Number 7, I think it's 7. I understand they're writing feedback and dissertation direction philosophies to assist me in my planning efforts. Meaning, have you had a conversation with them that says, what type of feedback do you provide? Not everyone gives the same level of feedback. Are you an APA person or a style person? Are you someone who loves grammar and mechanics? Are you someone who loves to rearrange and organize and structure writing? Are you someone who's more of a copy editor, like you're going to copy the words and make it sound academic and fancy? Like, what type of feedback do you give me? What can I expect from you? Again, why is this important? Is because it'll let you know how much, what type of feedback to expect, number one, and how much feedback can you expect, and if you need to go find other people to help you with your editing, because y'all cannot expect your chair to be everything to you in this process. They're human. They're one person. And you knowing this information will help you then to know how to move forward with them, right? Another piece of this is, what is their philosophy when it comes to dissertations? Now, this may be a harder question, but one of the things that I ask people to do, which is going to be number 8, is have you asked your advisor for a sample dissertation that best met their expectations? So something that I tell clients to do is say, can you give me 1 or 2 examples of dissertations that you either chaired or that you were a part of their committee that best met your expectations of what a dissertation should look like? Not everybody's philosophy is the same. Not all dissertations are not created equal. You need to know the expectations of your chair, not what you think is a good dissertation, but what do they think is a good dissertation. And when they give you samples, then you can know this is what you're working towards. And then number 9, have you shared an updated timeline with them and they have approved this updated timeline? Now, you may have been changing it every month. I don't care how often you change it. You want to make sure you give it to them. You want to make sure that you are communicating with them. Now, you might be like, girl, what does this checklist have to do with boundaries? But before I get there, if you have been tracking, what is your number in the comments? How many of these can you say yes to? We are not going to get overwhelmed with this list. I just like giving lists so people can have a strong idea of how to move forward with their chair in a relationship. This list is your new set of boundaries. Because when you ask for this information, what you're doing is you're asking for their input, you're asking for how they move, and so then you know how to govern yourself and you know what to hold them accountable to, right? Because if you have all of the answers to this checklist that I just gave you, if you can have this conversation with them, then y'all should be on the same page. And if for some reason you go to email them because they told you to email them and then they don't respond when they said that they would, when you follow up and say, hey, I'm just checking in. Earlier this year, we had a conversation. You said that you would be able to respond and within 48 hours. I emailed you. It's been over 72 hours. I understand that life is lifing, and I just want to get an idea of when I can expect a response from you. That is something very clear. That is the way that you communicate your boundaries, and that's not being disrespectful. You're not being antagonizing. You're simply saying, we had a conversation. This is what we agreed on, or this is what you communicated, and now the actions are not showing up. Can you help me understand? Right? That is how you hold someone accountable. That's how you hold yourself accountable. Let me know if y'all are following. Okay. If it's been a while since you met with your advisor, I am going to encourage you that by the end of today, you send them an email. Send them an email and say, I just want to schedule a meeting with you. I just want to catch you up on what's been going on with me. This email could be like, hey, Dr. So-and-so, I'm ready. I'm renewed. I got some new energy around this dissertation. I'm ready to get in and do it. I want to meet with you at least once a month for at least 30 minutes. We can meet in person, we can meet virtually, whatever is best for you. For our first meeting, I would like for you to review the agenda that I have attached in this agenda, I want to know when is the best way to communicate with you. I want to know when we're going to schedule our meetings. I want to know what I can expect from you about writing feedback and dissertation. You can see more information when you look at the document. Please let me know when you're available. Here is my availability for the next 2 weeks. Thank you. Look forward to it. Best regards, your name. It could be that simple. I know I'm giving a lot of information, so you will have to come back. But just your job, and I want y'all to come back under this post and let me know, did you schedule this meeting or not? And I'm trying to look at my slides to see if there's anything else. Okay. If you can do those things, and let me know if y'all have questions, and if not, we can call it. But I just wanted to come on and share that doing this at least once a month will make sure that you are moving forward in your process. One of the biggest reasons why people get slowed down or they have obstacles is because they're not communicating enough with their chair. And I get that it is scary sometimes to communicate with these people, and they're people. They are people. And they are not always the best humans, the kindest humans. They're not always the most organized. They're not always the most empathetic. But remember what I said at the beginning if you were here. That doesn't mean that you can't say, hey, here's my boundary. That doesn't mean you can't ask questions about, how do I get what I need so I can graduate? That doesn't mean that you can't email them and say, hey, I noticed this behavior. We had this conversation. Help me understand how to move forward. You get to do that. I understand what I'm saying. There is a power dynamic, and I get that you've probably heard like so many horror stories. But what I'm asking you to do is manage up, essentially. Because really, those are worst case scenarios. In general, y'all, academics are very spacey. They live in the clouds. They live in philosophy. So most of them don't understand how to be organized. Most of them don't know how to respond to emails in a timely fashion. Most of them don't know how to tell you tangible, practical, step-by-step of how to do a thing. You may be thinking, but they teach classes. They teach about philosophy, right? They teach about theories. Most of them are teaching about theoretical things. They're not necessarily teaching you how to do a step-by-step process. That's a different skill set. Some people may be able to do that more naturally, but you don't go to a class on how to be a dissertation advisor. Nobody's teaching you on this is how you help your doctoral students through the process. Nobody's doing that. And so when you combine that with them living a life of they got their own research projects and their own life issues and their own family and friends, that becomes harder. I know I take the stance of like remembering your chair as a person, but that's because I need you to remind you, like you can treat them like you treat any other person. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm going to call it. Maybe I'll try to come back on later when more people are on and we can do some coaching, but I hope that's helpful. Let me know what you found helpful from that, and let me know your number, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.